realize my existence.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me on the stream or replay if you're watching it after it was live. Today is kind of a special day, I guess. It's my birthday. So I thought it's Tuesday. I normally do my streams on Tuesday. Why not, you know? So thank you guys for joining me on my birthday. And we're going to kind of just be fast and loose and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about. Let's see. We've got Alex. He drew First Blood. We got Lake One Sound by James, and Art Books. So thank you guys for joining. And anybody else who shows up, I'll try to give you a shout out if I remember. So, man, I guess, let's see. This is great. This is my birthday, so I get to pick what we talk about. As always, if you have questions or you want me to cover anything like, you know, any audio topics or music topics, or I mean, I could talk about YouTube stuff if you want. And yeah, I guess maybe probably the best thing, like I talk a lot about technology and plugins and techniques for, you know, sound editing and mixing and that kind of stuff. So I kind of want to switch it up a little bit. And actually, this is good because it's my birthday, and it kind of makes a person reflect a little bit about, you know, the past year of their life, or even further back. Like for me, I'll go all the way back to the first birthday I remember. And there's like a huge pivot that I'm going through right now, and I can talk a little bit about that. Before we do that, I got to do my housekeeping stuff. So this is our members only Discord. If you join the channel as a member, you get access to this with an invite. If you don't get the invite, just, you know, send me a message or email and I'll hook you up with that. Thank you guys for all the birthday wishes on here. And the discussion has been awesome. There's been like people sharing deals on plugins and different techniques. So we've got a bunch of different text channels. There's a chit chat, which I never use. So just all that to say, big thank you to channel members. You guys are the fuel for the engine of this channel, and I appreciate it. One thing about my birthday is I'm a really thankful, grateful person. Maybe don't do the best job of communicating that, but I am eternally thankful to everybody who has watched my videos, you know, supported through the membership, and also supported by buying stuff off my website. This is kind of my way of, instead of doing like a Patreon or something where it's like, hey, give me super chats for my birthday and buy me a cup of coffee or buy me a nice chocolatey port for my birthday. No, I don't want you just giving me money for nothing. You guys should get something for that. So this website has, this is my website. It's got 2 courses here, a couple audio plugins that I made. I'm working on more of this kind of stuff, which I'll talk about a little bit later in the stream. And then mix templates for DaVinci Pro Tools. I've got a practice project if you need your first project, but this practice project comes for free with both the Intro to Audio Post course and the Dialogue Editing Bootcamp, which I've been getting some pretty good feedback on these that I'm going to roll into the next courses, which I'll talk about a little bit later. So let me reflect back a little bit and talk about a huge pivot that I'm going through right now, and kind of where the entertainment industry has been, is currently right now, and where it's going. Man, today, oh, you know what? I think the first episode of season 2 of Fallout is coming today. What a great birthday present. I've been playing Fallout since like Fallout 2 back in 1998, which kind of shows how old I am. So I'm a huge Fallout fan, and I feel like the show's done a pretty good job of honoring the, you know, lore or whatever of that world. How did I get on that? Okay, pivot. So I have been working in audio post professionally and production sound since 2008, which was forever ago. I mean, I started working on it in college, like probably 2005-ish. And there's been a couple pivots I've gone through in my life. Probably the first one was actually right during college. Actually, before that, I went through a little pivot. Yeah, this is good. This will maybe help some people out. Not really audio. I mean, it is audio related, but it's more like life advice, or like, how do you make it through difficult stretches? So first pivot I really went through that I remember is high school. In the middle of high school, 2 years in, my family moved. And that's a tough time to move because you have friends, you have maybe girlfriends, or like, your gang, your crew of people during a really hard time. Because high school's tough. The first 2 years are really tough. So I had my crew in New Mexico, my best friend Chris and his twin brother James, which is a great name. And then, all kinds of other people. And it was New Mexico desert, very like different culture than anywhere else I've lived. Like it was great. It was a great place to spend my youth. And then we moved in the middle of high school. So the first 2 years of high school, I was basically I hung out with skaters and goths and like the lower, tiers of the high school hierarchy. I wasn't a jock. I was athletic and I loved lifting weights and stuff, but I wasn't like super into sports. So the first pivot was we moved to a different state, Oregon, and I saw that as an opportunity to like switch things up. First pivot, I was like I was 16, 17 years old, moved to a new state, and I was like, okay, nobody knows me in this place. I'm going to try to like, I'm not going to try to be a prep or anything like that, but I'm going to try to be more confident and like, kind of come out of my shell a bit. So I did that. I came to a new school. I was a new kid, and I was able to still hang out with the skaters, still hang out with the goths and the drama kids and the band kids. But I had friends that were, varsity football or basketball or swim team or, debate club is not a good example, but like I was able to kind of mix things up and switch gears a little bit and come into my own. So then that was the first pivot. Next pivot was in college. I was going for psychology, sociology. I was really into why people do stuff. And then a huge thing happened. My sister, she died when I was 19 years old. She had leukemia. And we grew up playing music together. She played bass, I played guitar and drums a little bit, mostly guitar. So when she died, it was devastating, like completely exploded my entire life. I was a freshman in college and I was trying to be, go to college and be responsible and do like kind of what I thought was a pretty safe career, maybe go into social work. And then she died and it was like a huge thing. And what was interesting about it is it made me reflect on what I had with my sister. And what I had with my sister was the love of music. So that like switched my brain and I was like, you know what? No, she's not going to get the chance to, she was 16 when she died. So she's not going to get the chance to decide what she does with her life. She's not going to get to, she's always going to be 16. She's never going to go to college, never going to get married, have kids, or whatever she would do with her life. So I thought, you know what? To honor her and what we had, I'm going to drop my psychology major and I'm going to switch to music. Couldn't read music. Couldn't read a note of music. Only played in jazz band, and they would only give me like guitar solos and be like, just play, bar chords for this stuff. Don't worry about 7 add 9s and all that stuff. So it was really tough. It was impossible. In fact, the counselor that I went to told me, it's going to take you 5 years to get through this 4-year degree. You're already a year into college. Like you've done prerequisites and stuff, but there's no way, like you're going to be at college for 6 years at this rate because you've done your first year and now you got 5. You got to catch up. You have to learn how to read music. You have to learn how to, all this stuff about music and also what kind of music do you like? You need to go for music education. So it's really a master's degree at that point. So it's probably more like 6 years because you do your bachelor's and then you go and get your master's and then you can go teach at a middle school or high school somewhere. That's what everybody does. And I was like, no, I like playing music. I like writing music. I want to compose. I want to conduct. I want to score movies. Like, that was maybe on the table. And they're like, dude, no. If you go for that, you're going to be working at Guitar Center. So just stay in education, stay within the warm embrace of the educational machine. That's how you'll, have a successful, safe career. Please do not try to do anything outside of this narrow thing, which is music education. Get your bachelor's, learn to teach. I didn't want to do that. So I spent all kinds of late nights learning how to read treble clef, bass clef, transpose to B flat for brass instruments, or E flat for, winds and stuff. It was really tough. And the other thing was in college, I had to pay for stuff. I didn't have, mommy and daddy's money like, oh, here, we'll pay for your rent and we'll pay for your food. No, I had to pay for like everything after my freshman year. So I had an apartment. I had like 5 jobs. I was a DJ. I was working as a ranch hand. I worked at the animal hospital on college. I worked in the recording studio at college. I worked at the radio station, had like 5 jobs just trying to pay, keep afloat. And I was learning how to read music, learning how to write music. And I caught up and I was doing sight reading and sight singing, and I was composing, and I got to conduct like a big orchestra. And I got through towards the end of my college where, they're like, okay, you're getting close. Like, how's that master's degree looking? What you feel like you want to go and get your teaching part of your degree now? I said, no, I'm going to move to Los Angeles and I'm going to, put my stamp on the city and I'm going to find work as a composer. I had gotten into post-production audio and production audio. I was slowly building like a surround sound thing that I had in my apartment in college. And I had a boom pole and a shotgun mic and a Tascam HDP2 2-track recorder. And my plan was I'd go through college, save up as much as I can, work in as many jobs as I could, take that money, move to Los Angeles. And that's exactly what I did. I skipped graduation, found an apartment in Glendale, California. I had $5,000 in my pocket and moved down there with my best friend and my new wife. And that's where the, story of me working in films started, is I went down there with basically nothing, no connections, and I found work. And then that has led me to my career today, which is now the next pivot, which is the most kind of exciting, I think, pivot that I've had the chance to do. So the current pivot I'm on is the film industry is changing pretty rapidly. There's the rise of AI. There's the general reduction of amount of productions that are happening. Not a lot of films and TV shows are being made. There's some tentpole ones. Fallout was a great example. I mean, I've gotten a chance to work on some big shows for like Apple TV and Paramount and Lionsgate and stuff. But the bread and butter indie medium budget to low budget stuff that I have built an entire career out of is basically gone. Like, there's just not a lot happening right now. And I'm lucky to be able to have enough of that work to pay for things and like, keep things going. But YouTube has actually become a pretty big part of what I do. And it's become big enough that I think I can make the pivot to doing YouTube full time. And it's not something I can do like right now, like that. There's not enough money coming in for that to happen. But I think with the right planning and increasing, content output and also expanding the audience, I feel like that could be a realistic pivot. So all this to say that if you are struggling, and especially if you're early in your career and you're looking at audio post or post-production or production, whatever you're doing that is film, TV, content creation related, consider that. Consider how you could pivot from being a technical drone into somebody that is making stuff. Basically go from a consumer to a producer. So that's kind of, I know it's a long walk for a short drink of water, but if you're struggling with the future of your career and what you can do to stay working in a creative, technical space, think about that. Like, there's YouTube, there's other avenues. There's also big YouTubers that you could kind of try and hook up with to protect your career from this shift that's happening right now. And people are always, on all the Mixer groups I'm on, they're always like, oh, it's gonna pick up, it's gonna get busy again. What if it doesn't? What are you gonna do? So don't be afraid to pivot. Let's go to some questions here. Please ask any technical questions you want. I just wanted to get that off my chest because that's what I've been, it's my birthday. I've been reflecting on that. And so everybody's saying happy birthday, which thank you for that. It looks like Bill Shupp, I think. Isn't your first name Bill? It's his birthday too, which is great. Happy birthday. Yeah, so ask any technical questions you want. I love to answer them as best as I can. While you guys fill the chat with your technical and or whatever questions, it could be about the pivot, the YouTube pivot, could be about life, could be about courses, it could be about the weather, it could be about my thoughts on AI, whatever you want. While you're thinking about that, I'll give you a kind of sneak peek on this. So I've got on my website, I've got 2 courses right now. I've got Intro to Audio Post, which is great for anybody who's sort of new to audio post production or just wants to know a little bit more about it. Then I've got the Dialogue Editing Bootcamp course. This bootcamp is quite intense. This is like 6.5 hours of instructional videos that take you from blank session to finished dialogue edit. And like I said, both of these come with a practice project for you. But this is like, if you're serious about dialogue editing, this is what you get. If you're new to audio post, this is what you get. I am right now I'm about halfway through finishing an intermediary course that kind of bridges the gap between these two, which is happy birthday, Simon, which is a Creator Audio Academy. That's what I'm calling it. And it's going to be fairly accessible as far as not being too nerdy and technical, about how to get the best audio for for content creation, which is YouTube. Like this whole thing is about a pivot, and wanting to focus more on YouTube. Well, the big problem with YouTube videos is they sound like sticky bad audio. So it's a huge gap in the market. Like, let's look at YouTube as a viable entertainment platform instead of this funny kid fail videos and how to fix your truck. Like, the other interesting thing I found out about YouTube, which is totally off topic, is it supports 5.1 surround sound. I tested this on my Xbox because I was like, is there any way to get 5.1 out of YouTube? There totally is. I was in my living room, went on Xbox, and brought up like a 5.1 surround sound test. All 6 channels worked. That is a complete shift in my mindset for how to approach audio for YouTube. Obviously, it's not supported on browser, and a lot of people are watching on phones, but it kind of makes me think like, oh man, you could actually get a cinematic experience, an audio, 5.1 surround sound experience from YouTube. That is crazy to me. So this course that I'm finishing up is for creators. It's by a creator, which is me. And the cool thing about this is the way I shot this is I wanted to start out with nice shallow depth of field DSLR. This is shot with actually anamorphic lenses, so these aren't fake anamorphic bars. This is a real anamorphic capture. And then it transitions. This is like something I'm kind of proud of. It transitions from anamorphic to standard 16:9 for basically like if you were doing hiking videos or walk and talks in the woods. And then it goes from there to in my truck, and then it goes from there to in my studio. So it's about 24 minutes long, and it basically takes you from what do I do, what gear do I get for creating content, all the way to like, here's actually how you record it and make sure the audio is good. And then I'll cover sound editing and sound mixing. But yeah, that's what I'm working on right now. Let's see. We got questions here. Let's see. Okay, here's the technical question. I'm an audio editor for a TV station. I'm following all the loudness rules and exporting everything at -23 for broadcast. But when comparing on live TV, my mix still sounds quiet. Any tips? I have so many tips for you on that. This is a very common problem, which is you hit the level on your loudness sheet, you hit -23, but your mix still sounds too low. And the number one cause of that is EQ response on your mix. You have too much bass in your mix. That's usually what it boils down to. So what you should do is put a high pass on stuff. High pass at like 80 hertz or something, especially for TV. Like, do you really need below 80 hertz? Probably not. High pass it at 80 hertz. Focus more on the mids, especially 500 to like 2K. That's where the loudness and body comes from in a mix. And if you kind of, squish your mix around to where it's less weighted on bass and more mid-rangey, you're going to match the other content way better. The other thing is dynamic compression. A heavily compressed mix at -23 is going to sound louder than a dynamic mix at -23. If you're comparing it to other broadcast stuff, I guarantee you they've got stuff in their chain that compresses, especially voices and that sound, to make it feel louder, even though the number is the same. So great question. Hopefully that covered your answer. Tysonic Productions, my 2 cents to be, even fall into a comfortable full-time job, never stop networking. Yes. What is the hardest part about sound effects mixing? I find it's getting Foley to sit well. Probably, I talk about this quite a bit, but the number one issue with, if the mix is difficult, the number one issue is it's a bad sound edit. So if you're having a hard time mixing sound effects, it's probably not the right sound effects. The sound effects are probably poorly cut, low quality, don't match picture. 9 times out of 10, if you go back to the sound edit and fix that part of it, the mix is just writing faders, EQ, reverb, maybe compression. On sound effects, I don't use too much compression. Gunshots can be difficult to mix. I've found that limiting the gunshots, and punches too, anything that's like traditional, sound design, gunshots, punches, impacts, limiting at a really low threshold will make things pop so much more. It also matches how your ears respond, which your eardrum actually compresses when there's loud sounds like gunshots. So use a limiter, lower the threshold way down and crunch it up, like make it kind of almost distorted, and it should sound better. Foley can be tough to mix, but good Foley is easy to mix. You just maybe lower it a little bit and it sits in the mix really well. Cheap Foley, low budget Foley is all spiky, transient. It doesn't have body or weight or character to it, and it's impossible. Like, basically just turn it off or turn it way down, unless you can redo it. And I know that's an answer people don't like, is having to go back and do things the hard way, but that's kind of how that's what you need to do. So yeah, don't be afraid to go back to the edit on that stuff. Simon says 5.1 mix at -16. I know it sounds crazy, and I don't think you need to mix it at -16. I'm going to do some tests with this 5.1 stuff, Simon, and what I'm going to do is create a 5.1 calibration video, and I'm going to test the calibration on my home system. I'm also going to test it in my studio where I'm at right now to see what YouTube does for upward, upward, because YouTube will normalize stuff and it has the stable volume thing. So I'm just going to do some testing and see what happens. Do you think DaVinci is stable and fast for Atmos, or is Pro Tools still the place to do it? Pro Tools is still the place to do it. I've been, I cut stuff in DaVinci, I've mixed in DaVinci, and it's still like, it just doesn't quite feel solid. Especially once you start doing automation and processing, it's totally doable. And if you're cutting in DaVinci and that's what you have, yeah, use it. Use the Fairlight tab, but it's just not stable enough, I think, for serious feature film type of mixing yet. So yeah, it's a little maybe disappointing in that regard. Like, there's a lot of potential there. I've reached out to Blackmagic to see, like, can I help you guys with this? Haven't heard back from them. So the offer stands. If Blackmagic, if you need somebody to help you make this viable for professional audio post-production, My email is on my website. Other comments, questions, concerns. At what point in your life do you think you will stop editing completely? Oh, that is a great question. I've thought about that. Do I want to be doing this stuff when I'm 60? Probably not. Probably not. Probably once I get to my 50s, I'll be pretty done. And yeah, I'll have to either save up enough money by then or just not care, like whatever. I'll be homeless. My kids will be out of the house by then, way out of the house. So then, they can fend for themselves, and I can just be basically a gypsy. I think that'd be kind of fun, actually. So I've thought a little bit about it, but I haven't landed on like oh yeah, this is the time when I'll do that. Brandon Wells says, was there a pivotal moment once you began in post that you look back on as a key moment, person you met, mistake you made, accomplishment? There's so many mistakes I've made. Probably that once I started in post, man, that's a great question. You got me thinking about this. Well, I started on reality TV shows, and then I kind of floated around a little bit, like I was one of those like journeyman type, I would do different things for different studios. Probably when I became a staff mixer at Anarchy Post, that was like, that kind of started my I guess not upward climb. It started a real focus on mixing. And I learned the most when I was a mixer, because you're dealing with all different kinds of clients. I mean, you're with clients, you start to understand directors and what they look for. But more so, you are touching every track. So you, instead of just being focused on dialogue or sound effects, or music or Foley, you see how everything fits together, and that will make you a way better sound editor. So I would say anybody who is specialized as a sound editor or sound designer, try your hand at mixing. It's going to sharpen your editing skills and make you understand the complete process and how your tracks fit into the big picture of a film. So that I think is key. Like, everybody should try to mix a film, a feature film, and it's going to build you up. So even if you fail miserably, speaking of failures, we could talk about failures. The biggest thing is learning to say no to people. I think early in my career, it was just, yes, I'll take that job. Sure, I'll work. There was one documentary where they had a Sundance deadline and they were late turning over, and they're like, we've only got 5 days and we need you to mix this entire doc. And I said, yes. And it wasn't enough time. And by the last day, I was working, I think 22-hour shifts on it. And I was fuming. Like, I was mad that I had said yes, and that I kept saying yes to this production. And they basically ground me into the dirt. They had huge expectations. They didn't care about my, health or well-being. And then after we finished it, there was things on that film they had me. Documentaries are sometimes a little dishonest, and they cut together Frankenbites to make people say things that they didn't actually say. Like, they'll chop up a sentence to put words in somebody's mouth. This company actually got sued for that on their film after that, which I didn't work on at all, because they took sequences and edited them, and it was completely out of context. Like, they synthesized, it wasn't AI synthesis, but by their edit, they synthesized sentences that were not how the person or people said it, and they got sued for it. So learning to be a little more picky with clients and not say yes to everything, like getting the balls to say no to things, I think is really important to grow your career. Early on, you have to take pretty much everything, but at some point you'll be in a situation where it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Good question. Let's see. Good question. Can you name, and you have this little crown, which I think means you're number one on the leaderboard. Let's look at this. Yeah, actually Mr. Nelson is. And then we got, you guys get XP for this. This is cool. Let's have a little contest and see who can top the leaderboard. Maybe I'll give whoever ends this as number one, maybe I can give him like a birthday present from me to you. Can you name, in your opinion, the most important audio plugins when it comes to editing dialogue and mixing for broadcast? So for editing, first you got to separate editing and mixing. For editing, I would say the two top ones would be iZotope RX and Auto Align Post 2. Really important. Obviously there's spectral layers, which a lot of people have been all about spectral layers lately, and more power to them. iZotope for me is still, I haven't found a way to beat that workflow of sending things through Connect to iZotope, cleaning them up and bringing them back in. I can go way faster, I feel like, than anybody else can with spectral layers. I know it has RS support and all that, but it's kind of flaky from what I found. And like, I would be open to a paid challenge with iZotope. Who can clean this audio up faster? Because I just feel that confident in my skills with it. So I'd say iZotope and iZotope RX Advanced, and then, which I think Native Instruments bought them. And then Sound Radix, they have a plugin called Auto Align Post 2, which is for phase aligning multiple mics, lav mics, and shotgun mics, or multiple speakers if you're doing a podcast. Those are two you just have to have them. Let's see. Happy birthday, Tom. And your name looks like it's Tom as well. Hi from France. I love your YouTube channel. Thank you. That's good. Any update or sneak peeks on software plugins you're working on? How has that experience been for you? I've been enjoying dipping my toe. Yes, James, and I need to some of the stuff you're working on is like it's over my head. Like, it's so far over my head. Like, I'm, super amateur. And yeah, so I'm excited to see what you do, James. I can talk a little bit about that. I think this is called a super chat here. It's $20. Chase Nixon Music. Thank you so much. I will, just so you know, all super chats today directly benefit a charitable donation, a charitable organization called the Human Fund. And so all the super chats and everything, all of that is going to go to the Human Fund for their support of human causes. So yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so let me do, I can show you, I'm streaming through Auto Compressor right now. This has been like, I don't think I'm going to be able to beat this. This is on my website. It is $50, but there is a coupon code on one of my videos, kind of a scavenger hunt. If you find a video I have, it's about 5 minutes long. There's a coupon code for this if you want to get a huge discount. So that's something that I'm really proud of, but I'm also working on, I have a demo for channel members, which is another plugin called Auto Level. I probably shouldn't put it on here because I'm already doing compression on here. But actually maybe not. Well, let's do it. So Auto Level, probably can hear the change here, it's an automatic leveler. That's all it is. It's not a compressor. It looks at the in, and whatever level you set this to, it adjusts the output. So if the input right now is -20, -30, it's not super hot. And if I look at Pro Limiter just to verify what it's doing, you can see I'm talking normally, blah, 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 and it's getting the short term live to about -13, -12. And yeah, this is cool. Like, this is something that I've been wanting to do for content creators, but also for streamers, or maybe you're doing a broadcast mix and you just want an easy web mix. This will do that for you. It just reads the input and adjusts the output to the level that you specify. So I have this as a demo plugin, AAX, AU, VST3, for both Mac and PC. And if you're interested in trying this out, right now I'm trying to limit it to channel members. There you can hear it with it off. So if you're interested as a channel member in trying that out, just get in the Discord, and I have a link. If you go to plugin development, there's a link for you to download, which I'm going to show it briefly. There it is. So yeah, you can go there and download it and install it. There's no authorization codes or anything like that. It's going to be super cheap. I'll probably sell it for 10 or 20 bucks on my website. And I've tested it, but I need other people to test it. So if you're interested in helping me test it and you're a channel member, let me know. If you join the channel as a member, you'll get the plugin for free. So you're already saving a bunch of money. Good question. Let's go back to the chat here. Chase Nixon music. If you're not familiar with the Human Fund, I would say watch Seinfeld. He says, I'd like to put 20K towards the Human Fund. Oh, that's funny. Do you program the plugins on your site yourself? Yes, I do. I wish I had a team working on it. I've thought about that. I've thought about paying a developer, like, gosh, it would be 20 to 50 grand to develop some of the stuff I want. So instead, I just slog through it myself, and it takes me a while, and it's not as fancy. It doesn't have all the cool, AI neural net GUI stuff going on. That's why they're a little minimal. But I don't care so much about the GUI because they're boutique, it's like a hand-wired guitar pedal. Like, they're very specialized boutique plugins. So yeah, they're all programmed by me. They are, obviously I have the help of ChatGPT and Codex for some of that stuff because I can't figure out the DSP, but spoiler alert, every coder is using AI right now. It's insane. Like how quickly Codex or ChatGPT can troubleshoot DSP issues or compile issues compared to me, where I'd be scratching my head for, a week on something. It's like, oh yeah, look at this. You have, you used a double ellipses here, or you didn't close the line with, a bracket. Like, it would have taken me so long to look at that stuff. Oh yeah, Chase Nixon is Brockliners. That's right. Henry Page says, hi Tom, your channel is my go-to source for work. I'm the only person at the small, medium-sized company I work at that does audio. How would you recommend going about personal development? It's really just about doing the work. You can read stuff on forums. You can troll YouTube for stuff. But yeah, it's really about doing the work. The courses I have and that I'm developing are really aimed at just exactly that. This dialogue editing bootcamp is, like I said, it's super intense, but it's really meant for people who know a little bit about sound editing and they want to learn like how to be, do professional level dialogue editing work. So yeah, these type of courses are good, but if you don't want to take a course, like just do the work. It's really just through experience. It's great to work with other people. I will say that, like, if you can collaborate with other people, it's great to do that, and you'll learn, especially if they have more experience. But that's kind of going away. It's really sad. Like, that's how I learned. That's the mixer who taught me, Eric. He was such a generous guy with his knowledge, and I kind of missed that. I'm so far away from Los Angeles or New York. It's, I'm not going to have that personal interaction unless I fly back, which is something I did this year. I went to the MPSE Golden Reel Awards, got to shake some hands and meet people I work with remotely, and that was pretty cool. Somebody had asked about collaborating. Let me go back and see if I can find this. I remember seeing something about working with other people. Oh, here we go. Obi. How would one manage a team of sound editors as a supervising sound editor? It's really like being a boss at any other job. Maybe the difference, well, so you have to give notes on stuff. You have to delegate things. You have to be clear in communicating. That's probably the hardest part is communicating expectations to people. You'll find that true for not just audio posts, but marriages, relationships with friends, your kids, everything. Like it's all about, most of the problems are about expectations not being met. So communicating expectations and being realistic. And then when somebody drops the ball on something, don't just blast them. That's a huge mistake I made early in my career, because I was maybe not confident in my own abilities. So I was like, well, I'll just tear other people down. That's how I'll give notes. Huge mistake. You want to build people up. You want to be positive, and you can do the sandwich compliment where you do, hey, great job on this fight scene. The punches are really good. There's the first piece of bread. Then you do the meat, which is the negative part, the request, the note or whatever, which is maybe you could take a look at the cars in scene 32. But the director absolutely loves all of the gunshots that are in that scene. So you have a compliment, you have the request, and then you have a compliment to follow it up. That compliment sandwich can help the medicine go down a little bit easier. It gets tricky when you are juggling multiple projects, which for a lot of supervisors, that's a thing. They're on multiple shows and they have to kind of bounce back and forth. So Slack can be useful for organizing thoughts, delegating stuff. A lot of people in other countries use like, was it WhatsApp, I think? But yeah, communication. It's all about that. Good question. Okay, this guy's asking about the dynamics if you export your mix at -14. I wouldn't do that. Keep trying to hit that broadcast spec. Brandon Wells, any tips on networking with an industry as you're starting out? Yeah, move to LA, move to Atlanta, move to New York. Find the people who are making the most moves there. And friend of a friend is the way to go. If you just reach out to people, if you cold call them, you're going to get shot down. I got shot down hundreds of times starting out. And finally, somebody took a chance on me. But friend of friends that's that nepotism that Hollywood is built on. And it's all about that. For one of my podcast customers on live stream, I use AutoComp. And then on the master bus, I'm using Auto Level. Works perfectly. I don't have to miss it. That's great. So it looks like this is cool. I mean, thank you guys. Put this feedback in the plugin dev tab if you can. It'd be really nice to collect all these notes, so I can decide if this is a release candidate or if I need to go back to the DSP and tweak some stuff. Auto Level is really meant for two things. It's meant for live streaming, to get whatever you feed it, to -14, but it's also meant for making those mix variations without having to set up a bunch of compressors and limiters. So it's not going to be perfect for everything. It's going to be really for those two things. I want it to be good, and I also don't like just sitting on stuff for a long time. I kind of like getting it, 95% of the way there and then releasing it and moving on to the next thing. What are your views on Fiverr and Upwork? I've gotten paid through Upwork. I haven't done Fiverr. For a really slow stretch a couple years ago, I put a bunch of time into Upwork. I made probably 15 grand or so on Upwork. So it was a viable path. I don't know about now. There's all kinds of weird things like you have to pay for credits and they take a cut of stuff. I'm not a huge fan of that, but if you need the money, it can be useful. Okay, Simon, this is more of a plugin thing. Okay. Yeah, I might be able to, I can look at the delay. The other thing, Simon, you might find is that other plugins on that track may affect it. So I would test it. If you're using it as an insert, try adjusting which number. Like it should really be the first insert on an aux, so that the audio is level going to the next things. Do you find dialogue isolate way too aggressive? Just use less of it. Turn the noise down 3 to 6 dB. I edit dialogue for podcasts and think I'm having trouble with his noise reduction in the amount of time it takes since episodes are very long. Any tips on how to attack that aspect? Look into Hush Pro. Piggybacking on how to network. I have a family and life here, and to be honest, part of me feels if I can't move to LA, then I probably just won't be working on big projects. Yeah, that's a good point. It's the small fish in a big pond or big fish in a small pond thing. There's nothing wrong with being the big fish in a small pond, and you can probably make that work full-time maybe. Although I find that the best, well, not best. A lot of my friends have a spouse that works full-time at a nice, even, steady, stable job. Hospital, education, maybe doesn't pay great, but it's just that like flat, like you get your check every 2 weeks, you get your benefits, and then the creative working partner is doing audio post or video editing or whatever, because their income stream goes up and down. They might make 20 grand in a month. Next month, they might make 0. So having that, if you do have a domestic partner, really good. Otherwise, you're probably looking at like roommates, or maybe living with your parents, or maybe living in a bus. So yeah, it's tough. If you're not in LA or New York, even if you are, it's really tough out there right now. And a lot of people who live in those cities with their higher cost of living, the slowdown has just tanked them. Like their houses are getting repossessed, and they can't pay their $600 a month car payment. So there's some real strengths. I like living in a small town because if I don't work for a year or two, it'll be sad and it'll be tough, but I won't be on the street. Like I'll be able to pivot, which is kind of full circle back to what we were talking about. I'll be able to pivot to YouTube or construction, or I've worked in marketing, product development. It was fun to take those breaks where I was like, I'm not going to do audio post for a couple of years. And it also then kind of prepared me for the pivot. Like I know a little bit about SEO and marketing and product development and iterations and stuff. So yeah, just be open to not so standard living arrangements, like you're going to have to kind of grind out a living if you work creatively, and that's just the nature of the business. Yeah, I'm also not 20 anymore. Same here. Man, being in your 20s in LA was so perfect. What would you say is a good budget lav mic? Oh, here we go. Now we're talking. I can do my, I actually have to get up. Well, doomed and bored, I'm glad you asked that question. What we have today is the Deity PR2, not sponsored by Deity, but I did just spend about $12,000 on gear to include anamorphic lenses and audio gear and all kinds of fun stuff. But this Deity PR2, I use this for my course that I'm working on right now. This thing is a beast. Timecode, it's got timecode. It records 32-bit floating point mono to a lav. You just plug in the lav right here like this. It'll record all day. I also used it on my gunshot video. If you guys haven't checked that out, I recorded the guns with this little guy. Probably one of the better sounding mics that I recorded the guns with. But you just use it like a transmitter, but you hit record. This will record all day on the SD card, and timecode. It records the timecode. So you can sync it up very easily if you have a timecode workflow, which I do now. I've got a timecode slate and a bunch of other stuff. This, if you're doing one-man band or one-woman band, or even if you have a talent and you're the camera person, this is the way to go. This person could be a mile away from you and it'll still record every word they say. Maybe not great if they're going pee, but for just having a safe, let's record stuff safely, this is really good. If you do want to connect a transmitter to it, use this second plug here. and put it in a transmitter. So then you've got, to bypass the Zaxcom patent, you have 32-bit recording on the person, no wireless transmission, but you also have the wireless to your camera or your audio recorder. This I'm super excited about. And I also have a binaural mic that I'm going to record, some sound effects with. The problem is I had to rip it apart because it was sending mono audio. So I troubleshot it to the cable. This cable actually has a short in it. And the manufacturer of this binaural mic is shipping me a new cable. So yeah, good question. Let's see. Doing post for VO submissions, I've been getting better results by putting my noise reduction on a channel send. Yeah, sometimes that works well. Can you give good lav placement tips when the lav needs to be hidden? So you guys can tell I dress like MySpace Tom. Any of you old enough to remember MySpace will remember that guy. Oh, that's cool. People are texting me happy birthday. When you have to hide the mic by the best spot, hopefully you don't have a chest lit as talent. You want somebody with good pecs or nice full bosoms right between the breasticles, as it were, is a great spot. So right here, this is a really solid spot because there's an air cavity there. You can tape it to their chest if their chest isn't super hairy. You can attach it to the bra strap. You can sometimes get by with taping it to the shirt. If it's a t-shirt, it's way harder. You might have to collar mic them. But a button-down shirt can go right between the two buttons. You need a lot of tape. You need to do a relief loop in the lav cable to keep the cable from pulling. And the cable will actually induce noise to the signal from the cloth. So I'm going to do a little short video on that. Actually, maybe this week I could do that on kind of I like these 5-minute challenge videos. I did a 5-minute challenge on compression. I think I'll do one on a 5-minute lav mic placement. I set a timer up and do it in one take. And I feel like that is, instead of doing a bunch of jump cuts like other YouTubers, I like to just kind of roll with it. I don't use a teleprompter. So that might be I will turn your idea into an entire video. So thank you. Great question. When recording Foley, is it best to close mic everything and add reverb in post? No. And that may be an issue with why mixing Foley into your mix is hard for you. Foley really needs to be recorded as the picture was shot, just like ADR. The best ADR type of recordings is, the mic isn't here for ADR. It might be 5 feet away because you have proximity effect and all kinds of issues with mic placement. So the best thing I found for Foley is record it kind of where the boom would be in the scene. So for feet, that's going to be 6-7 feet up in the air. Put some air between the source and the mic. That also has the effect of lowering the transients. So instead of this being ticky-tappy Foley where it's everything is just like them doing that to the mic, it starts to get more of the it does get more room if the room isn't treated well, but it gets more of the character of the sound because there's more air between the source and the sound, and it can develop a little bit more. So I found that when I was recording gunshots too, the mics that were right next to the gun, I had to compress or limit the crap out of them. And the MKH60, which was about 10 feet back, had a nice boom thumpiness to it. So you'll get much better frequency response if the mic is a little further back. Good question. Let's see. I'm working on a doc about blind ice hockey. There are parts where the movie shows blind guy's POV and the mix turns to binaural. That is so cool. I love that stuff. I've worked with binaural sound effects in film, which is why I got this binaural mic, because I want to use more of them in my mix. Actually, Eric, the guy who taught me to mix, was a big proponent of that. He talked about I think a Jim Cameron movie he worked on or something where they recorded the backgrounds in binaural, used them in a 5-1 mix, and it was some of the best backgrounds of any scene. How was your experience when you got on the CS Industry Experience roster? It was fairly difficult. I actually need to do some training to stay current on my placement there, but it's just one of the things you have to do. This is exactly what I was looking for. Holy hell. Thanks, Tom, for AutoComp discount. It's the only thing I use on my input channel. That's great. That's great. Happy birthday, Thomas. Thank you so much. Binaural can give really cool results. We had a 3DO head in school and got great recordings. Would a 5-minute video on Reverb be doable? Yes, I could do that. I have an 8-minute video on Reverb, but I could do a 5-minute one. NFL hires audio post as a PAP, post audio production, which means you're responsible for mixing audio, sound, music, and final mix of each segment. Do you see other big message retracted? I'm not sure the rest of your question there. I'll keep an eye out for it. Perspective Foley. Oh, other big companies doing this. It unfortunately eliminates positions. I don't know. I wish I knew more about that stuff. I do have like a former colleague friend that worked for NFL, and it seemed like, you know, he sort of enjoyed it. Wow, I never thought of recording Foley from the perspective where the boom would be on set. So simple. Yeah. One thing you'll see, there's not a ton of Foley behind the scenes videos. One thing you'll see on the bigger stages is the use of multiple microphones. They might have one that is, 5 feet back or 6 feet back, but they'll also have one that's like 10 or 15 feet back. And one of the places I work, we actually put the mic in the corner for that really off mic, super wide shot. And a mixer, a true Foley mixer, will actually mix the two channels down to mono while they're shooting the Foley. And in Foley, you shoot Foley. You don't record it, you shoot it. I don't know why that is, but that's how they call it. So yeah, they will mix live and you just get a mono track. In a good Foley mixer, that's all you need. I don't want to go redo their mix choices. Give me mono footsteps, mono props, mix for perspective, where I can just lay it in and it just sounds great. Good Foley is such a pleasure to mix because it just sounds good right out of the box. Are there any movies you're planning to rewatch as the year closes out? I already watched a couple. Home Alone 1, Home Alone 2, which I would love to know your opinion on which of those is better. My vote goes for Home Alone 2. The pacing is a little bit better. We watched Gremlins, which I hadn't watched since I was a kid. Wow, what a violent gore fest to introduce your 7-year-olds to. I was like, it was rated PG, so I was like, I don't remember there being a lot of, it was a little scary because they look scary, but I don't remember there being, and I was like watching it with the kids, like, they just murked that guy. That guy is dead, in a kid's movie. So, probably not going to watch RoboCop with the kids. I try to watch Die Hard. Christmas Story is another one. We're kind of on a Christmas kick right now because it's December. Yeah. And because I've got kids and a family, I don't really watch too many movies myself. Every once in a while, I'll come out to the studio. I got my Blu-ray drive over there and I'll listen, 5.1 or 7.1 to stuff. Maybe I'll do that. Yeah. No Country for Old Men is a classic. Band of Brothers, I try to rewatch that once a year. Saving Private Ryan, big into World War II history. So those are kind of my go-tos for rewatching stuff that sounds good. Good question. Probably got another couple minutes and then I got to get to work. Okay, good. Oh, we got a member that just joined. Welcome, Dama. Hopefully I said that right. Okay, I can show you this. So binaural mics, and I am terrible about keeping cables untangled. So yeah, sorry about this. Kind of a rat's nest. Binaural mics approximate your ear, what your ear mechanics do to a signal. So I've got two. Here I've got a right, which is red, and a left, which is black. And these go over your ear and sit in your ear canal. And what happens is the folds of your ear, the pinnae, I think they're called, end up reflecting the sound, which is how you spatially orient sounds front, back, behind, above, left, and right. And so having the capsules inside your ear give you a much more visceral, realistic stereo field that also includes, behind type of phase incoherencies. And it's just a wider stereo field, basically, because the head actually separates the two, similar to a spaced pair, a spaced pair of Omnis would. So it is a really engrossing format that is a stereo format. So it's like kind of gives you a little bit of the surround feel without being more than 2 channels. Do you ever deliver to mixers that want a separate fill track? No. None of the mixers I work with have asked me for that. Here's another one. What's your suggestion for a budget recorder? I'm using a Tascam DR60D. I'd like to upgrade. I would say get a Zoom F3. Spaceballs was also rated PG at one time, yeah. Can you recommend some good references, inspiration for our blind hockey documentary? Yes. That movie about the drummer. But he's deaf, but still they did a good job of showing the he's a drummer who's going deaf. If somebody remembers the name of it, it was like the Art of Sound or the Sound of something. They did a great job of showing the perspective of somebody with a disability. For a documentary, Sound of Metal, there you go. Yeah, it was really cool. And as a drummer, I really appreciated, the way they made it. For blind people, they tend to have a very sharp hearing sense. And because that's where their experience of the world happens. So I would maybe interview some people, and maybe not on camera, but just kind of ask them. They don't even have to be hockey players. It would be good though to have hockey players. And then I would also have them listen to what you're doing and see what they think. Does this match the experience you have when you're out on the ice? I used to watch hockey, and I know like the sound of the skates and the ice, the probably on the ice, the texture of the actual ice crystals would be very important. Those type of details that are like kind of a little bit of Lowry's on top of the chicken are really nice to add. And you can go too far with them, but adding that, and especially having good spatialization, I would probably not have too much reverb or delay on things. I would probably focus more on clean, close mic'd sources that I can sprinkle in as like, tasty sprinkles or frosting on a cupcake, and really work on the panning of where things are, really good frequency response on things, clear frequency response, probably more high pass and low pass on individual elements. Like the ice shards, I'd probably do a high pass at like 500 hertz. And then you could add whooshes and stuff, but I would think like really detailed Foley, and then details on, to add details either through Foley or sound effects would be great. A detailed Foley pass on stuff like that. There's a movie I worked on you can watch called Bar. Let me see if I can bring this up. It's on Amazon Prime. Actually, we're trying to get people to rate it, because it's like after a movie kind of gets reviewed enough and everything, it gets put onto the Amazon SVOD. I don't quite understand exactly how it goes, but let's see. Oh, they don't have it here. It's on Amazon. We did some Foley for this that... Oh, is it this one? No, it's not this. It was by KTF. All right, well, I'll look at... This is a face... Oh, this is going to be loud. I need to mute this. Do they have a link? Please tell me you got a link. Link in bio. I'm not... I guess I'll click your bio. It's called Bar 5 Day, and it looks like they don't have like an accessible link here, which I'm trying to promote this, man. It's too bad. Amazon Prime Video bar documentary. Yes, I type with 2 fingers. I mean, maybe it's this one. We did Foley for this. It's about making drinks. And it's like one of the hardest bartending type of academies that you can take. And we did like ice clinking and stuff like that. Let me go on my Amazon and try to find it. Prime Video. Ugh. I'll be able to find this. Sorry for this blip. Here we go. Okay, now I can show this to you. Okay, so it's this. It's just called Bar, not Bar like the 30-06 automatic machine gun from World War II with I think it was a 10 round magazine. So this, we did Foley for all of the drink stuff, and it's really cool. Added a lot because there's a lot of macro, shallow depth of field stuff. I also did the music for it. So if you want to hear some of my music, you can check this out. Rent or buy. Leave a review, please. Give it a thumbs up and leave a review because it'll help it get on SVOD. So yeah, sorry that took me so long to find. Yes, Don Hardy was the director for it. Yeah. Okay, I think we're good. I tried to cover all the, I think I covered. If I missed your comment, I'm really sorry. Great interaction. Thank you guys for all the comments. Thank you for the super chat. This like $20, thank you. You didn't have to do that. I don't need anything for my birthday, and I don't really like people just doing that stuff, but I do appreciate it. So like I said, all your live chats and donations to the Human Fund are greatly appreciated. So the Human Fund is the charity that the money will be going to, and it will be used for some very important charitable causes that benefit humans. So thank you guys for that. And I think I'm going to sign off because I got to get to work. I got stuff to do. I'm not taking it easy on my birthday. Obviously, I spent an hour with you guys. I've got to get to work on this course that I'm working on. If you guys have any questions about audio post, or you have requests for videos, hey, do a video on this. Please let me know. The 5-minute reverb video, I'll try to get to that. I try to tailor the content to what you guys are asking for. So thank you to all of the channel members. Thank you, all you people in the chat. Brandon, Barracuda Bill, Nama, thank you for joining. Brandon, we got Obi, Tysonic, Art, like everybody, every viewer, every person who's spent a dime on my website. Thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I'm really thankful for just this interaction that I get to have with you guys, and looking forward to more of it and focusing more on YouTube as I go through this long-term, hopefully pivot to education and content creation and away from just working hours and hours in my studio on different films. Although I love it, I'll keep doing it as long as I can. It's nice to have the opportunity to do something a little more exciting. So thank you guys, and I'll see you next week. Till then, take care.